If you like stories told honestly and without sugarcoating, make sure to subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you all started with one small sound most people would ignore. It was a Thursday night, maybe a little after 9, and I was still at the office wrapping up invoices. My wife, Emma, had texted earlier saying she was having a cozy night in because she'd had a long day. Nothing unusual there. But then, right as I was getting ready to leave, my phone buzzed with a voice message from her. "I love you," she said, soft, warm. That perfect tone she always used when she wanted me to feel close to her. But right behind her voice, as clear as if someone had done it right next to my ear, I heard the click and sharp hiss of a beer can being opened. That sound froze me. It wasn't just unfamiliar. It was wrong. Emma hated beer. She used to wrinkle her nose at the smell. This wasn't a drink she'd try once. It was something she'd mocked for years. I stared at the phone for a good 10 seconds, trying to tell myself I imagined it. Stress. Overthinking. Maybe it was a soda. Maybe she was watching something on TV. Maybe anything except the thing my gut whispered. But my gut was already waking up, stretching, telling me it recognized something my brain didn't want to face. I called her. It rang twice and went to voicemail. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. She never turned off her phone. She said the silence made her anxious. Still trying to convince myself this was nothing, I called her mother. Her mom picked up immediately, cheerful as always. "Is Emma okay?" I asked. She didn't answer my call. "Oh, she should be at her friend Lana's," her mom said. "Spa night, wine, girl talk. She told you, right?" My stomach dropped. No, she had definitely not told me that. She told me she was home, tired, wanting a quiet night, and Emma's mother had no reason to lie. She didn't even realize Emma had given me a different story. Something cold settled in my chest. I thanked her, hung up, and checked the GPS on Emma's car. We'd linked our accounts after hers was broken into 2 years ago. I almost never used it, but tonight I tapped the app, and there it was. Her car was parked at a luxury condo building across town. A place I'd never been. Somewhere no one she knew lived. I sat there in the office parking lot for a full minute, just breathing. Not because I was panicking, because I wasn't. I was too calm. The kind of calm that scares you more than anger ever could. And that calm told me one thing. The sound of that beer can was real. I drove across town without music, without thinking, just following that pin on the map like it was the only thing left in my life that made sense. When I pulled up, the building was quiet, the kind of place where rich people live temporary lives between business trips. I parked far enough away that no one would notice me, and I waited. I didn't know for what. Clarity, I guess. Something to make this make sense. But then 2 figures stepped out onto the balcony of a 7th-floor unit. I recognized her laugh instantly. Even from a distance, I could see her blonde hair in the glow of the lights, the way she leaned into him. And then he kissed her. Full, eager, the way she used to kiss me before life got busy and complicated and full of excuses. I didn't move. I didn't shout. I didn't record a video like some people might. I just lifted my phone and took one clean, quiet photo. One moment in time that changed everything. By the time I got home, she still wasn't back. I sat at the kitchen table, the lights off, the house silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. At 11:48 p.m., the door finally opened. She walked in smelling of perfume and night air, pretending to yawn like she'd been at a spa. "Hey, babe," she said casually. "You're home late." I didn't answer. I just placed my phone on the table, screen down, and waited. "Everything okay?" she asked, hanging her purse, pretending her voice wasn't trembling. "Yeah," I said. "We just need to talk." She froze. For a second, she understood. For a second, she saw the truth in my face. But I didn't say a word. I waited for her to speak first. And she did. A lie, then another, then a bigger one. And I sat there, listening, knowing that the sound of one single beer can had opened the door to seeing who she really was. She stood there in the doorway for a good 5 seconds before she finally stepped closer, her smile thin and strained. She tried to make it look like confusion, like maybe I had a bad day at work, like maybe I was the one who needed calming down. "Honey," she said, pulling out the chair across from me. "You're worrying me. What's going on?" Her voice was soft, almost careful, the kind she used when she rehearsed empathy instead of feeling it. I watched her take off her bracelet, her rings, almost as if shedding the weight of her lies before she sat. She kept glancing at my phone on the table, as if she could sense there was something inside it waiting to come out. "Where were you tonight?" I asked quietly. She blinked too fast, already nervous. "I told you," she said, letting out a forced sigh. "Lana invited me for a spa night. Facials, wine, girl stuff. You know how she is. I didn't want to bother you, so I didn't call." "Really?" I said. "Your mother said something different." That hit her like a slap she didn't expect. Her eyes widened, then darted away. "My mom? What did she say?" she asked, pretending she didn't know. And that's when the first crack showed. A tiny, twitchy panic in her jaw. "She said you should have been at Lana's house hours ago," I said calmly. "Which would make sense if your car's GPS wasn't parked across town." She froze. Nothing. Not even a breath. I called her bluff in one sentence. She had rehearsed a lie, not two. "GPS?" she whispered. "You checked the GPS?" "I did," I said. "And it didn't show you at any spa or wine night or Lana's. So I'll ask again. Where were you?" She tried a smile. A weak one. "Honey, that's really invasive, don't you think? Like, tracking me? Come on. We don't do that." "I didn't track you," I said. "You lied. That's different." She looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers, then finally shrugged like it was no big deal. "Fine," she said. "Fine. I wasn't at Lana's. Happy? I just needed some time alone. I drove around, sat by the river. I just needed to think. I didn't want to upset you." "You drove around," I repeated. "All night?" "Yes." "At a luxury condo?" She swallowed. Hard. That's when the panic truly hit her eyes. "What condo?" "The one you kissed someone on the balcony of." Her whole body jerked, as if I'd cut a wire she didn't know was holding her up. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice suddenly louder. "You're making things up. Why would you say something like that?" "Because I was there," I said. "I saw you. I watched you kiss him. And I took a photo." The silence that followed felt heavy enough to bend the furniture. Emma's breath stuttered. She leaned back like the air had been knocked out of her. Then she reached for the only weapon people reach for when they've been caught and have no truth left to offer. Denial. "You think you saw something," she said weakly. "But it wasn't me. You're tired. You're stressed. You're imagining." I placed the phone on the table, screen up this time, her face in the photo, her arms around him, her profile outlined by the balcony light, her body unmistakably pressed against his. She stared at it like it was a ghost rising out of a grave. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not." She couldn't finish. She didn't have a lie big enough to cover it. For almost a minute she said nothing. She just sat there, shaking, trying to breathe. She looked up at me with a kind of desperation I had never seen from her. "It was a mistake," she said finally. "I had a lot on my mind. We've been distant. I wasn't thinking clearly. I didn't sleep with him. I swear. It was just a kiss. One moment. It meant nothing." That last sentence came too fast, too rehearsed, too practiced, and I realized then this wasn't the first time. This wasn't new. She had lines ready because she had used them before. Maybe not with me, but with someone. "Who is he?" I asked. She didn't answer. She couldn't. The weight of the truth was too obvious in her silence. I stood up from the table slowly, letting the chair scrape the floor. Her eyes followed me like a child afraid of punishment. "Are you leaving?" she whispered. "Where are you going?" "To bed," I said. "We'll finish this in the morning." "You can't just walk away," she said, voice rising. "We need to talk about this. You can't treat me like I'm guilty." "You are," I said. "And we will talk. But not tonight." I left her sitting there in the kitchen, staring at the photo, clutching her arms like she was cold. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't break anything. And that terrified her more than any shouting ever could. I lay awake in the dark, not because I was hurt, but because that same eerie calm from earlier had come back. A calm I knew was the beginning of something irreversible. Around 3 in the morning, I heard her crying downstairs. I didn't go to her. At 5, she tried to get into bed beside me. I didn't move. At 7, she tried to hug me. I stepped back. By 8, she was begging. Not for forgiveness, for control. For the version of me she could manipulate. But that version of me had died the moment I heard a beer can open behind the words, "I love you." The next morning didn't feel like a morning at all. It felt like waking up in the middle of someone else's life, someone else's marriage, someone else's house. Emma hovered near the bedroom doorway as I got dressed, wringing her hands like she was trying to squeeze a new version of the truth out of them. "Can we talk now?" she asked quietly. "Please. I didn't sleep at all. I need you to hear me." "I heard you last night," I said. "And I heard the truth long before that." She flinched. That sound, just a beer can opening, had become the symbolic crack in everything she'd built. She followed me into the kitchen like a shadow. The untouched photo still glowed on her phone where she'd left it. Her mascara, which she never slept in, had smudged into tired arcs under her eyes. For the first time, she didn't look like the composed, polished woman she always performed as. She looked real and scared. "It was stupid," she whispered. "I don't even know why it happened. He was just someone I met through friends. He flirted, I flirted back, and it got out of hand. Panicked. I didn't want to tell you." "You had no problem telling me lies," I said. "Lies come easy to you." She closed her eyes. "I didn't sleep with him. I swear on everything. It was one kiss. One. A kiss on a balcony," I said, "is not the beginning of anything. It's the end. You crossed the line long before last night. That was just the part one happened to catch." She sat down heavily, like her knees gave out. "I'll cut him off," she said. "I'll delete everything. Block him. Whatever you want. Just don't leave. Please, we can fix this." I had heard those same words from friends whose marriages collapsed, from clients of mine who tried to salvage relationships long after love had died. "We can fix this" is what people say when they don't want to fix themselves. "I already decided," I said. "I'm filing." Her eyes shot open, wide and horrified. "You're divorcing me?" "Yes." "Over one mistake? Over 100 small ones you thought I didn't notice." She tried to grab my hand, but I stepped back. The distance between us felt like an entire highway. "You don't have evidence," she said suddenly, desperation twisting her tone. "A photo of a kiss isn't enough to—" "I wasn't talking about court," I said. "But now that you've brought it up—" Her face paled. She realized too late that she'd just told me where her mind had been all along. Not on our marriage. On the damage control. I walked past her and went into my office where I had saved the GPS logs, the timestamped photo, the metadata from her voice message, the audio where the beer can clicked open, and, most importantly, the quiet confession in her own voice I recorded when she thought I wasn't listening, the one where she said, "He was just someone I met through friends." She didn't know that saying friends gave me names. She didn't know that met gave me places. She didn't know that her panic gave me the final piece. Within an hour, I had everything compiled into a single folder. Clean timeline. A clear picture. Not for revenge. Not for court. For someone else entirely. Her lover's wife. I found her easily online. They had kids. A house. A life that looked solid on the surface. I sent her the file with a simple message. "You deserve to know." I didn't expect a reply, but I got one. 30 minutes later. "Thank you. This explains everything." Another message came after. "I'm driving to meet him now. You may want to prepare yourself. There will be consequences." The consequences arrived faster than I imagined. By noon, Emma's phone started blowing up. Calls, texts, voicemails. She stared at it like it was a live grenade. Finally, she answered. I didn't hear the words. I just watched her collapse, sliding down the wall, sobbing into her hands. Her lover's wife had confronted him at his office. Loudly, publicly, in front of coworkers and HR. The man tried to deny everything, but my photo, his messages, and the building's own security logs did the rest. His company had a strict no fraternization and no dishonesty policy. He failed both. By 3 p.m., he was escorted out by security. By 6 p.m., he'd been served. And by evening, Emma's phone rang again. A number she dreaded. Her mother. She didn't answer. She couldn't. I didn't speak to her the rest of that day. I didn't need to. She spent the night on the couch, crying on and off, whispering words to herself like prayers to a God that wasn't listening. The next morning, she tried one last angle, pity. "Can we at least talk before we go through with everything?" she begged. "I'm losing everything. My marriage, my reputation, my job if this gets out. I need you. You needed me before you cheated," I said. "Not after." I left the house that day knowing it was the last time I'd walk out as her husband. The divorce moved fast because I wanted it fast. Clean, quiet, no drama, no shouting, just distance. She tried apologizing, bargaining, guilt-tripping, crying, every stage of someone losing control. I stayed calm. I didn't attend the final meeting. I didn't need closure. I'd already had it the night I heard that beer can open. 6 months later, I was grabbing coffee at a place downtown when I saw her through the window, alone, hair unkempt, wearing a jacket that looked too big on her. She wasn't talking to anyone. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't glowing the way she used to. She looked like someone who'd learned too late what the cost of her choices really was. She didn't see me. She wouldn't have recognized the man I'd become anyway. I paid for my coffee and walked out into the cold air feeling lighter than I had in years. Funny. All that destruction. All that truth. All that clarity. And it had all started with a sound she never imagined would give her away. If you want more stories told honestly, subscribe.